With Russell T Davies returning to Doctor Who next year, I wanted to see how he originally left the series with the 2009 specials. Did he go out in a blaze of glory, or was it an embarrassingly disappointing way to end what is often considered to be the golden age of Doctor Who? Starting off with the first of the 5 special episodes, The Next Doctor. Honestly, I wasn't even going to talk about this episode until I noticed it was included in the Complete Specials Blu-ray box set. It didn't even come out in 2009, it's the 2008 Christmas special. Looking past that, it does actually tie into the 10th Doctor's character arc across the episodes, but not too heavily. The episode itself is fine. I'm not a big fan of Christmas specials, but I do enjoy this one more than others, probably because it has the Cybermen in it, even if they play second fiddle to Miss Hartigan, who is a much less interesting villain. The concept of the episode is pretty cool, meeting a future incarnation of the Doctor. Even though that wasn't actually the case, I'm glad they didn't drag it out too long, as it becomes increasingly obvious that Jackson Lake is not truly the Doctor. The revelation that he's just a human being with the elements of the Doctor's memory imprinted inside of his own mind happens halfway through the episode. Still a little gutted it wasn't a future incarnation, and I remember being disappointed by that when the episode came out. Unfortunately, halfway through is where the episode loses it for me. It becomes a relatively simple case of defeating the Cybermen and then the Cyber King, which I think is a pretty stupid concept. Not sure why the Cybermen needed a child workforce to build it either, considering, well, they don't really do much when they're on the Cyber King. It just, I don't know, that last sort of third act just kinda sucks. The Doctor also intrudes on Lake's character arc by saving his son for him, and then stopping Hartigan later on. Would have been better if the Doctor took a backseat to Lake and let him be the Doctor for the day, basically. Proving that you don't need to be the Doctor himself to be a hero. Getting back to the 10th Doctor's arc, the Time Lord Victorious isn't ceded much here. The final scene between the Doctor and Jackson Lake is great, with the Doctor explaining why he wants to travel alone from now on, and that then ties into the next episode. Planet of the Dead is the first proper special episode, with it being shot abroad. It's also the first episode of Doctor Who to be shot in HD. Additionally, to make it even more specialer, it is the 200th Doctor Who story. With all of these things going for it, it's a real damp squib of an episode. The abroad shooting is a cheap novelty, and the episode being shot in HD doesn't make it feel that much more deluxe than a standard episode. Luckily, the fact it was an Easter special had no impact on the story. That would have been insufferable. The biggest downfall is that it's entirely unremarkable. It's just 60 minutes of the Doctor and Michelle Ryan's character, Lady Christina, walking around the desert. Lady Christina is a pretty poor character. She doesn't redeem herself by the end of the episode, and doesn't really learn anything. And then she escapes in the flying bus at the end of the episode, which is a far too whimsical sort of moment for what should be a descent into a darker tone in preparation for David Tennant's final episodes. Tying the 10th Doctor's arc into this episode was a tad underwhelming. He simply denies Christina, and that's basically it. We haven't moved much further forward from the end of the last episode. I suppose it's interesting to see him deny a potential companion, which we haven't seen him do before. I suppose it foreshadows the 4 Nox thing, but that barely feels like a strong enough thread to link the episodes together. I also wasn't a fan of Malcolm. I thought he was a bit too much at times. Loved the Troutivores and the Stingrays though, they were good. Planet of the Dead simply just, it doesn't go far enough. Would have worked just as well if it was a standard 45-minute episode. Obviously looks better than all the episodes that came before, but that's just an added bonus that you get when you shoot with high definition cameras. The Waters of Mars is without a doubt the best of the specials. It possibly has the best use of time travel out of the whole of Doctor Who. It isn't needlessly convoluted and is utilised in such a way that it manages to muster a pretty strong emotional response from the viewer. The crew of the Mars base are all likeable, especially Adelaide, who functions as a good foil to the Doctor when he goes against the grain of time and takes their fates into his own hands. The water creatures are great too. The makeup effects make them look creepy creepy. The Waters of Mars features the Doctor at what could be his most interesting. This is the beginning and probably the end of the Time Lord Victorious arc. He goes too far and almost instantly regrets it. It definitely feels like RTD was scraping the surface of what could have been the greatest exploration of the Doctor's character. But it just doesn't go far enough. And I don't care if the Time Lord Victorious expanded media thing explores it better. That's not the TV series, so it doesn't really count. It's probably the darkest episode of Doctor Who. Maybe not quite as dark as Turn Left. Just the foreboding atmosphere throughout the episode makes it a borderline masterpiece. To contrast the previous episode, The End of Time decides it should be one of the absolute worst two-parters of all time. It is a disaster on almost every single level. I cannot decipher the tone. Part 1 has these beautifully somber scenes between the Doctor and Wilf, exploring the Doctor's existential crisis. Then there's everything involving the Master, which is just dreadful from the first scene. The secret books of Saxon, the potions of life? Where is all this rubbish coming from? The resurrection stuff is so dumb. Then there's the horrendous CGI that has John Sim using lightning to fly around an industrial estate. John Sim's Master is awful in these two episodes. I get embarrassed just watching him. Like, I don't want people to know when I'm watching The End of Time. It's that bad. I'm not keen on the Vinvoce at all. And what on earth was up with the Obama stuff? He's gonna end the recession? Why was that even there? It's weird. It's really weird. Never gets explained as to why the Ood are advancing so quickly. Just a side effect of the main plot. They should have had the human race advance technologically to kind of link that together. Have that immortality gate be a human invention rather than a random piece of alien hardware. Joshua Naismith is a non-character. He isn't even like a secondary antagonist. He's just a man who wants to make his daughter immortal. What kind of motivation is that? His daughter should have been sick or something, and he's trying to use the gate to heal her. Would have given him another dimension that he just doesn't have. I don't even think he gets a line in the second part. He vanishes from the plot until Wilf briefly mentions that he was arrested at the end. Oh, and don't get me started on the Master Race stuff. It is embarrassing. I'm not vibing with it. Awful episode. Only has like a couple good scenes, if that. It's like a highlights reel of the worst parts of the RTD era. Part 2 isn't as bad, but it's still not very good. It has some flawless scenes. Scenes shared between David Tennant and Bernard Cribbins are gold, solid gold. The Gallifrey stuff with Timothy Dalton as Rassilon is quite disappointing though. He just sort of shouts everything. And why is Gallifrey represented by awesome CGI and then just a black void? Did they run out of money? Everything is resolved way too easily. It's revealed that the Time Lords are responsible for the drumming in the Master's head, and we learn that they plan to destroy all of reality to escape the Time War and then ascend into beings of pure consciousness? Oh, so we're just ripping off Stargate SG-1 now, are we? The Ascension thing is woefully underdeveloped. It's only mentioned in one line, like, you can blink and you'll miss it. The woman in white isn't explained at all. Is she the Doctor's mother? Is she a weeping angel? What was the point of her? I think she was only there so that Wilf would bring his service revolver with him, so that the Doctor could shoot a box and solve everything instantly at the end, which ruins the dramatic tension. There were definitely diegetic ways of making Wilf take his revolver with him to the mansion. You didn't need this random lady to spout cryptic nonsense that results in no satisfying payoff. Getting to the good stuff, I love the epilogue. The revelation that Wilf was the one who would knock 4 times is great. I think a great deal of people don't understand what Russell T Davies was trying to achieve here. Fans often moan about the 10th Doctor throwing a fit when he realises that he must sacrifice himself once again to save Wilf. This is the first time regeneration was treated like an actual death, as it should be. I mean, how would you like to die and be replaced by someone else who may share the same memories as you? People want to sort of trivialise regeneration as just something that has to happen in Doctor Who so that it can keep going for another few series. And obviously when he has his rant about things not being fair, you know, he's right, it isn't fair, but you've got to be pretty dense if you actually believed he wouldn't save Wilf. He is the Doctor after all. The sequence where he visits his old companions often gets criticised for being self-indulgent, and well, you know, it is, I'm willing to let off because RTD had earned it. He managed to establish all these lovable and memorable characters, and it was nice to say goodbye to them all for the last time. And it only goes on for about 5 to 10 minutes tops, so it isn't even that long. It's a sweet epilogue to a fantastic era. Shame about the rest of the two-parter though. The End of Time is not a good story. So, why did the 2009 specials fail? They didn't go far enough with the concept of special episodes. They felt like regular episodes and would work just as well, if not better, as regular 45-minute episodes. They should have been longer than just an hour. Maybe feature-length episodes would have been a better idea. The Time Lord Victorious arc is underdeveloped, which is a crying shame. A darker version of the 10th Doctor would have been awesome, but we only really get to see glimpses of it. Instead he goes too far and then instantly regrets it, and then doesn't really do it again. I think the regeneration stuff is great. I think that might be a controversial opinion though, but I believe people treat regeneration as business as usual, which it really shouldn't be. The 10th Doctor wants to live an ordinary human life and die a normal human death, which is the tragedy of the Doctor's character. RTD definitely explored the Doctor in such a unique way that we haven't seen since he left, and well, we hadn't even seen it before he started either. So, to sum it all up, the specials failed because they feel like regular episodes with 15 minutes tacked on at the end, and the 10th Doctor's character arc simply isn't fleshed out enough. I think Russell T Davies could have done a better job wrapping up his era. Hopefully when he returns next year, he's on his A game, and hopefully these specials are a fluke, because I don't think the writing is quite as strong as what came before. Oh crap, I forgot about Dreamland!